This is what we call the caddy view. This is where the caddy stands when the golfer is golfing. One of the things we'll notice here is while we have a pretty good setup, the hands don't appear to be parallel. The left hand needs to be turned either a little bit counterclockwise or the right hand clockwise to get those palms parallel. I'd also like to see the right toe turned in a little bit more so that it's more perpendicular to the target line. So, and also what you'll see is that the ball is pretty far back based on that. It's actually behind the headline. If I come down the head, you can see the ball is pretty far back. And I know when I talked to him that he felt like the ball was kind of forward. So we're seeing that the ball is a little too far back. Let's see what happens with the takeaway. When the ball's too far back, what happens is we get a little steep on our downswing sometimes. So let's watch the takeaway. Pretty decent turn. He is getting around behind the ball. Here we see the dreaded collapse of the lead arm. We want to try to keep that flatter if we can. That's not always easy to do. So let's go ahead and move back into the finish position. Turn into the impact zone. A lot of head drop there, coming in kind of steep. Right there, his hands are still a little bit under the club instead of on top. Not too bad, though. We're going to get a little bit more rotation. Let's see how he rotates through it as he finally still hasn't turned the hand over. At this point, we should start seeing the fingers of the lead hand or left hand, and we should have that right elbow pointing down. The left elbow pointing down instead of so up. That's this elbow right here. We want it to get pointing down instead of up like it is now. Let's go ahead and turn on through to the finish. Excellent weight transfer. Look at the balance he's generating there. Pretty good. A lot of turn. He got himself forward. Good job. Okay, back once again to the caddy view. See a pretty good setup here. Notice the feet. The trail foot is nice and squared up. The knees kind of braced and in. Let's see if he's able to stay inside of that knee line on the way back. Hands are in a good position. You can tell that they're pretty parallel. He looks balanced and ready to go. Let's watch the takeaway now. Not bad, a little bit handsy. Now the club shaft should be pointing back to his belly button, and it's actually, you can see it's pointing way off out in front of him a little bit. So we'd like to see that get more back outside the hands, less hand movement. Pretty good takeaway right there, getting to a nice, long, wide position. Notice that he stayed inside the green line, but you can detect that he has a slight bit of a rock to the outside of his right foot. See a little lifting inside the foot there. Keep on going back. Now he's getting a nice shift of weight to the front side, but unfortunately it's all upper body shift. Now he's moved his head way out in front of the ball. So at this point now the ball is behind his head, and he needs to have his ear on the trail side of the golf ball. So he's going to move into it, chop down on it, turn through it, and he ends up with his head out past his foot. And at this point right now, what we'd like to see is that if we draw a straight line through his shoulder down through his leg, that his ear, shoulder, right here, the hip and all that should be directly over that line. The right knee should have been moved all the way up to the left knee. Got some things to work on, but we'll get there. From the caddy view, we can see this golfer's lined up on a couple of different lines. He's got his feet kind of running along that line, his shoulders running that way, and the club is pointing that way a little bit. We'd like to see the feet lined up with the target line. Moving forward a little bit, let's watch the takeaway. Not a bad takeaway here. He's doing a pretty good job of turning, but then he starts to collapse the left knee into the right knee, and instead of posting up solidly on this lead leg, he's actually moved that lead leg completely out of sequence at all. What we want to do is we want to take him back to the setup position. He needs to stay inside that green line instead of getting so far. So he collapses. Then as he comes into the impact position, he scoops the ball a little bit. We want to get our arms fully extended at this point. We'd like to see a triangle of two very long arms extending down the target line, and then to be able to see the glove hand underneath the other hand. At this point, we can't see any of the glove hand. The right foot is too planted, stuck far behind him. Not a good athletic position, and then we finish falling back on the trail foot instead of up on the forward leg. All right, work on it in the future. We have a great setup here. Notice that, whoops, that's not supposed to be there. Let's try a straight line. Notice that the spine is going directly towards the 1 o'clock number. Looks really good. Very solid, very good structure there. Hips are solidly over the ankle bones. Arms are hanging nice and freely. It's hard to tell whether the arms are long and straight because of the cold weather we had this morning. But let's see what happens as she turns away, bringing that club back. Does she get into a position where she starts just a little bit to the inside, where she throws it off plane, and that's generally caused by moving the lead arm out away from your body and turning it too much. So we'd rather see the club head be about right in there instead of so far behind her. So we're going to turn into the swing now. Goes up to a nice top position right there, up the tree post, back down again. She's going to route the club pretty good to the inside. Look at that. See, at this point, the hands are right back where they were. Look at that rotation through the shot. Very nicely done. Solid hit. Good swing. Caddy view with the big stick here. The hands are a little farther forward than I'd like to see. We can get the hands more body centered just by getting a little bit more of a spine tilt this way. So we got the head back a little bit further, so the head was more over here. I think that'd be a better setup for him. Let's see how he does on the takeaway. We're going to see if he stays braced up against this leg. It's got a good wide stance, so it should be pretty solid. Doing okay there. And you can see he's shifting outside the line. See how much outside the line he is now? He's actually lost some leverage by doing that. So he's going to drive back into the ball. He's driving in nicely with his legs. Very good right there. Look at the extension down the line. That's not a bad swing. I'd like to see the hips a little further forward and the belly button maybe leading the swing, or the belt buckle. But this isn't too bad. On through to a nice balanced finish like we talked about before. He's got a great shoulder turn. He needs to get up a little bit more on that right toe. We have a good natural golf setup here. We've got a nice straight line here. This line, or the line of the trail arm and the club, should be straighter. Sometimes what a natural golfer will do is put the club head back here further, so that line maintains a straighter line. Let's see if she keeps that line through impact. She's going to go back, get a nice takeaway there, folding the right arm nicely up to shoulder height. That's far enough. And now she turns into the shot. She actually is going too far here. You don't need to go quite that far. Come into the shot. Keep the head a little quiet. Face the ball at impact now. Notice she's pretty well back where she was at setup. Turning in. Well, she's right there. She just sort of turns too early. And that's causing her to lose that nice straight line triangle that she had at impact. Notice the arms have separated instead of staying together. So we need to work on that with her for the next few weeks, up to a nice high Mo Norman style finish. Pretty good there.